what we have learned in Never Say No projects that we worked on, they were government projects. Got the project for Ghodbunder Fort.
How did you manage your financials?
Initial stages, yes, of course, I guess we used to just like do, okay, 50-50. And then, okay, interior projects have helped us keep the money rolling.
Hi everyone, we are back here in Sankraman Studios this time, and on the episode of Copperpod in Rubaru with Rupali, we are going to interview a dynamic duo personality. These two are young women entrepreneurs, and their names are Shwetambari Shinde and Sapna Lakhe. Let's meet them. They have amazing journey that they have gone through, and they have some wonderful advices that you would love to understand and listen to. Let's meet them. Welcome both of you, the team of Sankraman Design Studios on Copperpod and in Rubaru with Rupali. Hi.
Hi.
Shweta and Sapna, we have been talking. We know each other for quite some time. And what we are going to discuss today is going to be extremely important for the young, aspiring architects, students of architecture. Because this duo has a very interesting journey that will show you the hurdles and that will show you the challenges and the solutions that they have faced to see that how Sankraman Studio has reached its pedestal today. So welcome both of you. I'm not wasting much of the time, but I am immediately starting on knowing your journey in this process. So Shweta, you both are graduates from 2011 batch or 2009, right? 2009 batch. And Sankraman Studio was formed in 2012.
Right, yes.
Right? 11-12 I'm marking. In such a short span of time, when you decided that yes, you have to build in this studio, what was your thought process the minute you graduated? How did both of your journeys began when you decided to collaborate in 2012? Shweta, I would like to hear from you first.
So actually, after our graduation, because I immediately started, during my thesis time, I'd already started working for some financial reasons. I was like, because for thesis, you have a lot of, kind of outgoings that kind of goes. So I'd already started working and I continued in the same place for after my graduation was done. So around 1 year I worked there. It was a different scale of project. I guess after that, during that time, Sapna was for her master's. And after she came back, there was 1 year that we worked together. 1.5 years we worked together at one same place in office. And I guess by the time she was back from her master's, we had that conversation that, okay, we can start our practice. By then I had a fair amount of experience, around 2 years, 2.5 years, because I counted my internship period and also, during my thesis that I had worked. And I felt like, okay, maybe, because I had worked on different scale, I had worked on from something like an interior till an architecture and also working on the feasibility project, very Bombay oriented, redevelopment projects. And I kind of understood the scale and I felt, okay, maybe yes, we can, start our practice together.
So this thought was during your college time?
It was bits and parts, very, naive. Naive talks, naive talks during our train journeys, train journeys, or maybe, just casual talks where we would have, but never like had this kind of plan that, okay, in this year we'll do this. It was quite organic, the way it kind of went. And I guess she had to convince me hard over it, because at the stage where I was, I had a certain pay package and I had a few deliverables, like liabilities, actually not deliverables. I had liabilities, and because I had taken the education loan.
For your undergraduate course also.
So I had a major liability for it, and she had to really convince me hard over it. But I think I was sold over it, because of course, I guess we were friends more, and somewhere I kind of had that trust. It sounded good, and I was like, okay, let's start over it.
Yeah. Yes, Sapna.
Yeah, so like she said, it was honestly a very casual thing that we were discussing since college days. And then I also kind of had my own parallel things that were going on. Like I went for an exchange program, then I went for my master's, then even I worked.
Can you just tell me about your masters that you have?
So my master's I did from Pratt Institute in architecture and urban design. So my primary focus was design since day one, and I wanted to kind of explore that part of the design as well. And this was more kind of parametric oriented. And of course, it was in a very interesting city in New York. So that kind of, just kind of everything kind of worked in sync, and where I felt that, okay, both these things will be very important, if I have to kind of, be there for a year. And that could lead to a lot of exposure, that could kind of, bring in a lot of new perspectives, of course. And so somewhere in my mind also, the whole thought that, okay, when we start our practice, we would want to kind of be in the public sector and kind of work in, those kind of projects.
So this thought was built there when you were there?
Yeah, so when I kind of even sent across my synopsis, I still kind of remember the whole statement of purpose that we are supposed to send for our masters. So I remember kind of writing down exactly that, where it was this interest towards that, and it was not so much of, say, interior, or not so much of the residential development that is going on in the city of Mumbai, even if you're here, because that kind of also maybe comes from the undergrad education, or so it kind of it was always about that public sector. It was always about kind of working on a scale of projects which could bring something new to the table. And so somewhere I think that kind of also helped me to choose my masters. And when I kind of came back, and where this whole decision and discussion of us starting a firm together started, so it was again kind of taking that approach, that, okay, what is the first kind of point of contact that we can try and approach. And again, of course, the challenges were very different, but
this is a very important stage, where you were aware about, first thing I would say, Sapna, that you were sure that you had to come back.
yes.
It was not something we'll see, we will explore, and we will try to do it. So when you went there, you knew what is it that you want to choose, and you were to come back. After you come back, the important stage was to decide which area should you explore, and for that the connections and the resources. So how did you think? So what were the first connections that you thought of seeking? So for example, or I would say, when you came back, you had started taking some private projects?
We actually, our first project was an interesting project, which was the BMC Mumbai headquarters annex building. And the restoration part was already going on, or at least 80% done by then by Abalamba. And this was the annex building, of which it was a very small part where we had to do interior of the annex.
You're like a sub-consultant. See, you're a beginner.
Where
You're
we
a
didn't
startup.
Sankraman, they didn't give Sankraman like a, kind of identity to it. As
Yeah, Sankraman was formed that time.
Sankraman, we
was
formed
not
up.
formally formed yet. So it was somebody who kind of approached and said that, okay, they need somebody to assist them to work on the interior layout and everything. And I think that was our starting point, but we were like a sub-consultant, and of course not taken very seriously, how it is.
Yeah, obviously, you're just helping them the draft or work, or give them the drawing.
So it was very like that. So, in the initial phase, we have done very, the kind of regular drafting work, very like, beggars can't be choosers, that kind of approach, right? So it was that. I honestly, at that point, we were begging. We were begging for work. It was like, approaching whoever we knew, okay, making up like the cold phone calls and asking that, okay, I've just done my master's, I'm planning to start my firm, if you have anything for me. So they were honestly, that phase of course was there,
Exactly.
There was nothing to, there was not really that much social media to come and portray your work, or, the approach was very straightforward. It was very like, okay, what your network is, whom do you know, you make the calls. You ask them, you go with your portfolio. It was literally like that. So, and that time, honestly, you show more of academic work.
Yeah.
But you, of course, show your kind of passion and your zeal to kind of do more interesting work and you kind of, put forward your best foot and say that, okay, no, we can do it, we will do it. Please, whatever it is, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, we are ready to
Yeah,
do.
it was a very
Wonderful. So this is how you got this first BMC, opening of getting these few drawings as sub.
yeah.
And at least both the projects that we worked on, they were government projects. So somehow that got us curious or aware, okay, like, this is the way. And we were kind of curious also about the fact that, okay, how are they getting the projects? And, empanelment was, one of the things that we got exposed.
I very much want you to talk about this approach of getting empaneled on a specific organization or a team of, a group of companies or somewhere. So can you just highlight on that?
I think because India is such a developing country right now, and then of course there are so many tenders which are floating. So how do you kind of get yourself aware with it, or like how Sapna mentioned, if you want to be part of the public sector or that scale of projects,
Yes.
we need to be part of the system. So empanelment is where the governments, they actually they kind of float a requirement where they say we want those many set of architects part of our organization. So it's not on a bigger scale. It's on bodies like, there will be smaller organizations, say municipal corporations or PWD. So different 2-tier, 3-tier cities. So everyone has their thing, where you have to separately go and empanel yourself as an architectural firms. And that's the time when we realize, okay, let's get ourselves registered in the formal way, where we are like, okay, we have to name our firm, and from that, and then all those things.
Yeah, that was the stage where Sankraman really came into.
So then we got ourselves empaneled. Actually, during this BMC, as we, few of the engineers over there suggested us about the MTDC, Maharashtra Tourism Development Corporation. They had a tender which was floated for architect empanelment. And at that time, as, the requirements were quite basic because the cost of project was not at a higher level. So we could, empanel ourselves because the requirement where someone has to do masters, you need to have that experience. So both of us, we kind of balanced that requirement, and, we got on board.
Okay.
So that was like one of our first architecture projects as Sankraman Design Studio.
Yes. Here, both of you, Sapna and Shweta, I would like to just tell the audience what is from MTDC, that was the first project that you began. What is it that you are handling right now, 2012 to 2023 that has ended last year? What is the scale of project that you are handling at government level, and what is the feasibility or the financial input that you are looking at for the projects?
So, of course, the first one, like she mentioned, was the MTDC. So it was like a community hall. So again, it was kind of looking at a very public sector kind of project, and we did thoroughly enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Of course, there were a lot of challenges where we were, kind of questioned and were again, kind of looked at, okay, they are the beginners, they are not really understanding how the government functions. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how. But I think we kind of, but we were also very
Convincing them.
We were very determined. We were like, no, whatever it is, we will take it. We'll take the ball and we'll, kind of make it work. And we would rather run behind them and still ask them the questions. So it was not like everything we knew,
Exactly.
It wasn't that kind of situation. So we did have, I think, a list of 100 questions every time we met them. We would, constantly nudge them. So of course that was also, there in that whole learning process. Even at site, everything. From there, we kind of, so coincidentally, we kind of heard that there is this Rudyard Kipling bungalow that is, which is a part of the very esteemed JJ College of Architecture campus. So, there was a need for a conservation architect for that as well. And at that time, I think Shweta had also just completed her this post-graduation diploma in conservation, in built heritage and conservation. So we thought that, okay, why not kind of look at this building. And I think we approached, Directorate of Archaeology and Museum, and we thought that, okay, let's, give it a shot and let's see. I mean, it is going to be little kind of walking on a rope situation because, conservation is very sensitive of course, and there are so many different kinds of challenges than an architectural project. So I think that was our starting point for a first conservation project, and we were able to handle it. I think for a span of 4 years, the project went on, and
So you got this project around 2006.
14, yes. And so 2014 was the first year where we kind of started documenting the whole bungalow and everything, the whole condition mapping, everything that kind of goes into the conservation process. And then by 2016, it finally broke grounds on site. And then, we kind of, then that happiness was to another level.
Right.
Because, of course, a very esteemed project for us also. And we were like, okay, this is going to be quite in the public eye. And, we have to make sure that it happens in the most appropriate way. And we got in some experts also who were the structural consultants for it. And we kind of, hand in hand kind of made it work. And then by 2019, roughly, we completed the project. And but again, a lot of hurdles, government project.
Yeah.
And that time, again, archaeology and museums honestly had the fundings that were coming for the department were very small amounts that we were looking at. So we had to kind of make it work within that small amount. I mean, there were certain materials that we wanted to kind of go for, but we had to compromise on that a bit. And but we kind of went through those challenges, managed to bring it to a certain level of completion as well. And post that, I think parallelly we kind of got the project for Ghodbunder Fort. So this is back in 2015 where we got a work order.
Fantastic. I am coming to Ghodbunder Fort because that is one golden feather in your cap, definitely. Before that, as you said, the government projects, starting from 2014, coming up and all the challenges that you faced. How did you manage your financials when it comes to setting up the studio and try? Because I think, as we discussed, Shweta, and you rightly mentioned that financial education is not given in the undergraduate course, and you have to try to find it yourself. But it's a sad way of first getting the getting hurt and then trying to find a solution. So how can you just tell us?
There was a lot, like, I guess the graph that Sapna is mentioning was more of project oriented, like, how we back project. But I think the parallel struggle was how do we manage this, in terms of financial management, in terms of managing the entire team, because in 2012 when we started, both of us were just working. Then we started increasing our team. And there was a time when, right now we are at least 6 architects with us. So, managing them is very important, I guess. And initial stages, yes, of course, I guess we used to just like do, okay, 50-50. And then, okay, theek hai. Literally, like, both of us drafting. Draft kiya 50-50. And then, because for me, that time, that was more important, right?
Yeah.
And then
you're talking this, just 2 years, 3 years, graduate, fresh architects who are looking at.
Immediate, I guess it didn't took quite long, because we immediately realized that having that infrastructure, or if we need to kind of build our team, or if we are working for government projects, that's not our aim. If our goal is to kind of get ourselves empaneled, and we saw it also in the requirements, in the requisites, it's always there. You need to have a team, you need to have so many machines, you need to have all that setup. And we are like, okay, now we can't do 50-50. It has to be like even 20-80. Like where the 80 goes to office, Sankraman, like, and then just like, we just take ourselves for our living, or, 80 goes for the team and for the well-being, things like that. So that then I guess GST came in picture, and there's so many things where we had to kind of figure out the part of it. But yeah, I guess that's like learning hard way.
Your government projects, which you would suggest or advise the youngsters and the aspiring architects to look at if you want to be your bread and butter, at least? What do you suggest?
I think nothing like interior projects here, because that's what happened with us also. So though our keen interest was in the public sector, so but we never denied, interior projects should not be a part of our studio. Interior projects have helped us, I think, roll, keep the money rolling.
Yeah, no.
Ball rolling. And I think we initially, literally, we'll not, exaggerate this. We got the part of designing one cabin. You're talking about because we were working with MTDC, the managing director, very fine lady. So she kind of said, okay, why don't you design my cabin? She saw maybe our energy, or I don't know what it was. So it really started with that.
Okay.
And then from there, somehow she recommended our name to her husband, and then like that. Actually, that kind of trail of projects happened, for interior. And after that, we managed to do like 3,000 square feet offices. From 3,000 square feet, we completed a 10,000 square feet office. So I think interior projects are really crucial. I mean, even though, you might not like it, so it was not something that we would say was our expertise in initially. But I think now, even that has, kind of, we have really picked on to all the things that are required. I mean, we have been managing turnkey projects. I think that has also become very crucial in kind of keeping the ball rolling, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
So that I think interiors,
there's the learning curve also in interiors project, because we, at least in terms of learning curve, we didn't kind of separate interior projects from our architecture projects, because whatever we kind of learned mistakes from there, we used to actually kind of put it to good use in doing our architecture project, because architecture project has its own pace. Where, at least in the interior project, we kind of immediately learn our mistake and we know, and then we kind of make sure that that mistake is not repeated when we are doing our architecture project scale, in terms of management as well. So maybe in terms of delivering the drawings, or what sort of level, what are the GFCs that need to be released, or how do we even manage that project? Because a lot of time our government projects is not phase 1, that's design, but it's also PMC part of it. So because we did turnkey project, we understood at that scale, how do you manage? And that's where
Perfect. I think this will be a fantastic advice, because many times students who are fresh graduates, they try to come, I'm actually interior ले रहा हूँ मैं एक दो, लेकिन देख रहा हूँ. So somewhere they are like, कि interior.
Yeah, that thing here,
kind of is there. Yeah. But I think what we have learned is never say no for any.
Never say, yeah.
Absolutely.
Literally never say no for. You never know what, I mean, at that point, if we would have decided maybe conservation nahi karna hai, because that was not really our thing. And but then conservation happened, and it's going in a very fantastic way. Like, we've been blessed with opportunities.
Of course. Somewhere, both of you, where you picked up your masters in the initial years, and you did your post-graduation in conservation, in which year? Maybe another 4-5 years?
2014 itself. Okay. During the Rippling House. Yeah, right.
So, this again is a very interesting way of looking at each other's, need for doing it. What you learned and what you brought back helped Sankraman in a different way. And what you learned later on was the future of Sankraman, where you saw a potential and you thought, let me jump in now, gather some more learning. I think this should be the journey, right? Always. And then looking at projects which can be your bread and butter and move ahead. Fantastic. I'm so glad I'm able to share this on this platform with you. Now comes another topic which is very close to my heart, which is you being both women entrepreneurs. The women entrepreneurs in our society have a different challenge other than the finances, other than, dealing with projects, because they have a very thick-knit family culture, which is supposed to be given priority to. So how have you both managed with each having a beautiful daughter, right? Both of you have, I think, daughters, yeah. And your husbands who are also architects, but have their own different way, and how you have been able to focus you as individuals to Sankraman, having all, managing. I think that is something which I would really want you to share very openly, and how you took it ahead.
So for us, I think our first and foremost for anything is Sankraman. A lot of time we would also say, who's Sankraman? You would question us, who's Sankraman? Because we are really like, we believe in Sankraman, and at one point we're like, okay, who's Sankraman? So yeah, I think we really hardly believe in Sankraman, and we believe in whatever future we have accepted, or we held hands of Sankraman for its highs and its lows. So we had our lows as when we had that. Can't call it low, because personally it was a high for us, because we delivered babies, but thankfully it kind of came at the same time. So we kind of became sympathetic also empathetic towards each other's situations. But then we kind of held each other and said, okay, this was it. And there was a good break for us. We got time to, because there was a time where our graph kind of went here, and then it hit a plateau. And then we were like, okay, now either we have to really hustle and get going, otherwise it's going to just be at that plateau, because we were getting project. But then we realized that, okay, we have to believe and just say, this is it, and you have to really push.
This, I feel, Sapna and Shweta, this is the second stage or third stage where a challenge is faced as a woman entrepreneur. The first is after your graduation, the pressure of getting married, और looking marriage as a priority. फिर करते रहो, शादी कर लो पहले, फिर आपको जो करना है करो, अपने husband के साथ करना है करो, in-laws का, because these are the dollars we still. So how have you faced that phase first?
I think for husbands, it's always been clear from day one that Sankraman is the priority. I think they're already
now they are like,
they've accepted.
Exactly. So abhi aise hoga, before you answering, they will say, no, Sankraman is their priority. Don't involve them in something else. Wow, lovely. I think that is what is needed as a life partner.
Yeah.
Where both respect and value each other's work.
Of course, them coming from a architecture background also helps quite a bit, where they understand the whole need of site visits. They understand that we have to travel. There has been a time, I think, where last year we were continuously traveling. It was literally like we didn't even have to unpack our bags. It was like, okay, pick up, leave, pick up, take the next train, leave. So it was literally, that kind of a very back-to-back, crazy schedule that we had.
Yes.
But, of course, the husbands or the family in general, including our daughters, I think they have understood that they're very cooperative, and like I earlier said, that learning begins at home, and where we have kind of then, managed to tell our daughters also the same, and about what our work is. They are for most of the times with us at the site, when there is no other option, they are just kind of coming.
The minute we entered your studio, I saw some two lovely beddings put here, and she said, this is the time when we used to get our daughters, and
when they were really small babies, we had got them when they were just 5 or 6 months old, because we needed to get back to work, and we would not deny it, but it was a 2 years of setback. So it was not easy to kind of come back again and, meet and have the same rigor and the same energy. I think that rigor, energy, that the loss that happens, it's very difficult to bring it back.
Yeah.
And, to come back with the same and, again start meeting, again start, introducing yourself as a firm. It's almost like a rebirth. It was like...
And this rebirth already has, you know that you have your kid at home, and then you're still now wanting to give time. But as you rightly said, Sapna, talking to kids and making them understand, because we have been as mothers telling that dada goes to work, so he will come back in the evening, and then we will have a gala time. So there should be somewhere where it is like mama has work, she'll come back and she will be there for you. So kids understand. I mean, they are the ones who have been motivating us all our life later also now. So this is the right approach I think every woman entrepreneur should look at, because the motherhood definition has to change somewhere, and they are also a part of your journey, and that's absolutely wonderful. So after this phase, then now when you are moving ahead, I think you just had a conference. It was a conference where you were invited to talk about Ghodbunder Fort. So, can you tell us something about how Ghodbunder Fort started, and what are the financials that the government is investing here, and how you can look at such huge projects and take it under architectural wings? So if you can just tell.
So for Ghodbunder, actually, as Sapna mentioned, we were already in the conservation projects that, we had completed Rudyard Kipling bungalows. So it was in 2015 that we got work order. It was an interesting project because Ghodbunder Fort was into adopt a monument scheme where Mirabandar Municipal Corporation, they adopted the monument from state archaeology.
Okay.
So as we were already empaneled with state archaeology, we got the work. So of course, it has its own kind of path where we had to take permissions from Mantralaya for the kind of approval of conservation process. So around 2019, the work started on site. Now in government projects, the main thing is about approval, the administrative approval, which does take some time. Where where there'll be an initial, it's like a pitch. So there's an initial pitch where we kind of do, then you kind of sit back, relax, wait, and have that much patience and say, okay, it will start, and then it kind of gets started. So in 19 it started. It was interesting because we had a clean slate that ways, because Mirabandar Municipal Corporation, they completely kind of relied on us, or they trusted us, and they didn't kind of put many conditions and said ye chahiye wo chahiye. So we had that much freedom that apart from a basic conservation or of the built fabric, there was something else where we could give back. And that's how our approach was more kind of on a humanitarian level, where we said, okay, whatever our proposal, yes, we would do the conservation part of it, but we would also look back at how do we kind of give it back to the Ghodbunder village. And that's how our kind of proposal went. And they were also it was a surprise for them, and that's how our funding also increased. So from 2019, whatever funding we had, they kind of increased, and there were a lot of funds coming in from corporation, because they kind of believed and they understood, okay, on a larger level, say there are few more heritage projects in Mirabandar where they can actually start linking them and kind of get it on a tourist circuit. So somewhere in government project, what we have realized is a lot of time we need to from our practice of how Sapna also mentioned earlier of serving in public sector, we have to throw in our ideas. How much ever a lot of time you feel, okay, should we say, should we not? But I think if we do mention, it is always a lot of time it is welcome. Because in government project, you need to mention that, and then you need to give that bigger picture to them that this is what can happen, this is how it can happen, and then we need to, give us support part for it.
This also relies on a lot of, on this debatable issue, where there are very few architects on the government panels, or very few architects who are decision makers or policy makers. And, we are really looking at architectural education to see that how, you should show that also as a stage, because until and unless you don't have people who can understand what you're saying, or naturally they have certain their ways of vision. So as you rightly said, explaining it to them and, giving them or showing them the larger picture again could be a very perfect. Great. Can you believe you're such wonderful change makers that you're showing it to the path that you have shown to the students, because the challenges which we spoke right now are the few that just in these the time bound session that we are asking, but behind the scenes when we talked and we realized that there were so many challenges that you all faced, and you have overcome all of them. And as women entrepreneurs, as mothers, as headstrong believers in what you are doing. So as Sapna, you mentioned to me that we were headstrong. The minute I asked you that, well, did marriage was come as a priority soon after you began with Sankraman, and you said we were headstrong. Somewhere we were headstrong in telling everybody, whether it is parent or that we love Sankraman. We cannot think beyond Sankraman. If you want to move around Sankraman, we are there with you. And I think that's the right approach. And we have such a loving family with us, who maybe at that moment would be little in, a shock or try to. But this is the way I feel every woman architect needs to build her path. Because somewhere until and unless she doesn't change her mindset in showing the world that no, this is the path I'm following, you have to be with me. I will not change my path, or it's an equal thing wherein I am trying to, and you just help me in that format. And this, I mean, you have already shown what wonderful achievement you can present to the fraternity and the students. The last advice or anything that each of you would like to tell the students or the aspiring architect, anything that comes to your mind?
I think one of the things for Sankraman that kind of happened, like I remember when I came back from my master's and I started, we both kind of started working and in government projects. I think people had a very kind of a judgmental thing, like suppose when I kind of met any family or anybody and people had this thing that government project, masters you've done in New York, what are you doing?
Yes.
So there was always that kind of a thing, and I feel like I'm very glad that we both decided to take that approach, because now after 12 years when I'm meeting the same people, their whole perspective has changed, so so if you feel that this is the path for you, you take that path. It's not about if you feel interiors is your way, if you feel landscape is your way, you need to really believe in it and really make it work. And I think for the past 12 years me and Shweta have kind of patiently believed in it. I think that patience is really important, like the kind of the waiting period that happens, we were kind of earlier talking about that whole pitching phase where you're just, okay, 2 years, all you've done is just met people, but you have kind of had that patience to be yourself and to pass through those 2 years. And at this point, we wouldn't regret any of that. We wouldn't regret the path of, working in public sector. We wouldn't regret that kind of, okay, 2 years, we did not give up or, any of that thing. So, yeah, so I feel like, I think that's one of the things that we feel, as the graduating architects that we are seeing nowadays, that patience is really important. I think, it's very important that you understand that you wait it out. You cannot have everything that quick. It's not going to happen. And, whatever path you choose. So, yeah, I think that would be...
Yeah, I think after doing 5 years of architecture, if patience is what we don't learn, then...
I know, तो क्या सीखा? 5 साल, and with all different kinds of people, and the questioning you and trying to prove our designs, and with all those, of course.
So, like even if you're starting your practice, you're working with someone, have that much patience to, or at least believe in that, those many hours that you put, then wait it out and look like, wait it out for the outcome to be seen. We understand maybe at times there might be some difficulties to kind of not stick through, but if possible, it's better to at least keep 2 years for any project, at least to see that much curve. Maybe, to see a build project does take much more time, but in 2 years is a good time to understand a graph of an office, graph of a project, graph of their own growth. Because from the time they come to office, there's a different graph that we see whatever experience they have. Because every office has its own, kind of learning. So I think patience.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving your time, welcoming us to Sankraman Studio and making us feel so warm. Thanks a lot, Sapna and Shweta, for being here today. Hi guys, interesting wasn't it? I think this was one podcast which is going to give you an entire understanding of how a journey begins as a young architect. This duo of Sapna and Shweta have in the podcast constantly shown you ways and means how you can set up your own firm and be entrepreneurs and take it to a wonderful level. So from 2011 till 2023, how these 12 years they faced the journey is what the podcast showed us. I can't thank them enough for showing the young architects this way.